Hello rail fans, today in this new video of RailsOnTube, we are going to look at the heart of a train, which is none other than engines or locomotives. We have a lot of segment in engine itself. So first, today we would start with diesel locomotives. So let's get into our video. Indian Railways started their journey beginning with steam engines, which used a lot of coal, and where the loco pilot had to make sure the coal doesn't stop, the pressure is maintained at every point of time. So later, Indian Railways in August 1955 came up with its first meter gauge locomotive YDM-1 R6002. It was imported from North British Railways, and within 2 years in 1957, first wide gauge diesel locomotive WDM-1 was also introduced, which was brought from American locomotive company ALCO. From there to WDG 6G, diesel locomotives have played a main role in Indian Railways. So in this video, we will cover all the meter gauge diesel locomotives. So what is meter gauge? Meter gauge railways or narrow gauge railways are with track of 1000 mm or 1 meter. The meter gauge is used only for around 95,000 kilometers of run. The only operational meter gauge now in India is Nilgiri mountain line. So what? Y stands for meter gauge. D stands for diesel based. M stands for mixed type, which carries goods and passengers. So let's start with all the different models of locomotives in YDM series. YDM-1. The Indian locomotive class YDM-1 is the class of diesel hydraulic locomotive that was developed in 1954 by North British Locomotive Company NBL for Indian Railways. Around 20 units were produced and later used, and these locomotives currently are retired and enjoying in shed. During this tenure, it was mostly located in Gandhidham shed. YDM-2. The Indian locomotive class YDM-2 is a diesel hydraulic locomotive that was developed in 1986 to 1990 by Chittaranjan Locomotive Works for Indian Railways. 41 units were made, and now it is currently a retired engine and not in use anymore. During its tenure, the major sheds were Maula Ali and Golden Rock. YDM-2. YDM-3. The Indian locomotive class YDM-3 is a class of diesel electric locomotive that was developed in 1964 by GM EMD for Indian Railways. Around 30 units were made, and currently it is in its status of retired. Major sheds which handled this loco were Siliguri and Sabarmati. So before moving to YDM-4, we will talk first about YDM-5. The Indian locomotive class YDM-5 is a class of diesel electric locomotive that was developed in 1964 by General Motors, GM EMD. Only 25 units were created, and this is also currently not in service anymore. Sheds which used to look after this were Siliguri and Sabarmati. YDM-4, manufactured by ALCO and made along with YDM-5 in 1964, are the most successful meter gauge locomotives. Around 541 locos were made and 57 are still operational. These engines were and are placed in Izzatnagar Loco Shed, Phulera Loco Shed, Golden Rock Loco Shed and Sabarmati Loco Shed. So this is it for today guys. Today we have just started with Indian locomotives. They are in a wide range and variety. We would surely come up with more parts of wide gauge locomotives on mixed type, passenger types and good types. Until then, signing off for today. Stay safe, stay healthy. Rails on Tube.